is a modern artist.
Yeah.
He was a Yale graduate, and he created more expressionistic paintings at a time when a lot of artists were going into the pop art movement. A lot of people say that artists know when they're a child that that's the profession that they want to do. Henry Ossawa Tanner, an African American artist, told a story of when he realized that he wanted to be an artist. He was walking in a park with his father. It was either in Philadelphia or Pittsburgh. And he saw an artist painting. And he watched for hours, it seemed like, and he told his dad, "This is what I want to do." So his family bought him the paints and paintbrushes so he could start his career. With Chuck Close, it's kind of a similar story. His mom was into art growing up, and so she had him go to a neighbor's house who taught him different artistic techniques. She would set up still lifes for him to draw, and she often brought in nude models for him to draw from. And he was just little at this time. And during a National Art Education Association convention in New York City, he said, joking around, "Well, it's no wonder that I wanted to be an artist," getting to see that. Growing up, Chuck Close didn't have it easy, though. He grew up with 3 major disabilities. The first was a neuromuscular condition. This allowed him to, he wasn't able to participate in a lot of things that normal kids can. Like, he couldn't do sports. He would try and run around after his friends, but he would fall down, and that really took a toll on his childhood. So he said that he needed to come up with something to keep his friends sticking around. So he started to pick up magic. And during that same speech that I heard in New York City, he said, "I broke the one rule that magicians need to have." He said, "After I do a trick, I would tell people how I did it." The other condition is dyslexia. Now, a lot of people think that that's just confusing B's and D's and stuff like that, but it also goes deeper. Even a simple sentence, a person with dyslexia can get mixed up, they won't be able to understand it. And that resulted in Chuck Close telling everybody that he has only been through about 3 or 4 fictional novels in his entire life. And sometimes he'll skim through books about artists and stuff, but he really doesn't like to read. And when he was growing up, it was during a time where if you had dyslexia, they didn't really recognize it as a condition or anything like that. They just thought that you were stupid or you had a vision problem. So that was definitely a challenge growing up. He also has prosopagnosia, and that's a condition where you can't recognize people's faces. If people were to grow their hair out or grow facial hair from one visit to the next, he probably wouldn't recognize them, even if it's a good friend. That's probably a reason why he painted faces for the most part. He also would paint from pictures, like photographs, instead of actual models, because he wouldn't recognize the models one day to the next. So he would have to ask, "Who is that person?" He also said that this is a reason why he's nice to everybody, because it could be a person that did something really nice for him or bought one of his artworks, and he wouldn't even know it. But the most challenging thing that he's probably had to deal with in his life was a blood clot in his spine at the age of 48. It caused him to be mostly paralyzed, and through therapy he was able to gain back a lot of what he lost. He's still in a specialized wheelchair that allows him to stay mobile, but he has a lot of difficulties moving his hands. And during that time of therapy, he was still so dedicated to his artwork. He would use his teeth to hold the paintbrush so he could paint, and now he also has to use a hand brace to hold the paintbrush. this happening, the spinal blood clot, resulted in his artwork changing from what used to be very photorealistic, high detail. He would use many different tools, like he would use airbrush work, and he said that he attached a pencil eraser to the end of a drill and would use that because his hands would get so tired from erasing. But now he still works in this grid-like fashion where he has the canvas set up and he divides it into squares, and he uses each square as an individual picture. So it's less work for him to have to deal with it one time instead of having to paint the whole thing at once. Although Chuck has had to deal with a neuromuscular condition, dyslexia, prosopagnosia, and a spinal blood clot, he keeps a very optimistic outlook on life, and he really wants his disabilities to be looked at as if it was a footnote in his life.